everybody. This is Gretchen Selleck, and I'm here with Annie Gibbons, and we are aging enthusiastically with Donuts and Pie Fitness. And today we are interviewing Heather Haldeman, and I am so genuinely excited about this because I have known Heather for a long time. And I haven't seen her in a long time, but she's one of my most favorite people. And then to find out that she's written this fabulous book called Kids and Cocktails Don't Mix, a memoir. And I didn't know any of this backstory. And so I am totally immersed or was immersed into this book. I couldn't get through it fast enough, Heather. It was incredible. But let me tell you about Heather. She's from Pasadena, California. She has the most wonderful husband and three grown kids with two granddaughters. Her work has been published in the Christian Science Monitor, Chicken Soup for the Soul, From Freckles to Wrinkles, and Grandmother Earth. She's also received first, second, and third prizes for her essays. So I've got the book right here. So
Oh,
I just love, I'm telling you, I like to read, but I love this book. And
thank you.
there's something about it that you can't put it down. And it's so real and it's so incredible that it's about you, Heather. But it's a
Oh,
story that Heather talks about talks about growing up in the 60s and 70s in exclusive gated community in Los Angeles. Life was like Mad Men with parties, and it was quite opulent and fun. And then her father up and abandons her sister April, her mother Marilyn, and Heather. And so this story is about kind of the aftermath of what happens and Heather's growth and all through it. It just it's hard to put down. It's only a matter of time before it becomes a movie. And I'm telling you, if I knew Reese Witherspoon, I would have her on the phone right now. And I really mean that, like, hello, Reese, like hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. It's that good. So I'm so glad you're here, Heather.
thank you.
So I'm gonna ask you, what prompted you to write this book?
Well, it really started when my cousin Jonathan, who is an historian by nature, went back to Fremont Place, 127 Fremont Place, where I grew up. And he had heard that the house was being razed and demolished, and he wanted to go get a piece of it, something he could hold in his hand, tangible evidence that we actually lived there. He didn't, but he wanted to get it for my sister and me. So when he went there, he found a balustrade literally emerging from the construction waste on the driveway. And he grabbed it along with some other, my mother's tacky little things like, really cheap chandelier stuff. And he brought it home and called me and said, I have something for you. So I went over there and he gave it to me. And I couldn't believe it. I kept looking at it, just seeing that the many times it was overpainted and repainted poorly. Moe's Bad Paint Jobs. He was our cheap painter that my mother hired. And I went home and put it at my desk and I wrote an essay. And I thought, okay, I'm done. Great. And at that time, I was in a writing group led by Bernadette Murphy, who is quite a writer, my mentor, my teacher. I love her to death. Anyway, she's been with me through this whole journey with the book. But when I read the essay to our writers group, Bernadette said at the end, Heather, this is a book. Get to it. So I went, all right. So I literally, that very day, I went home and I started thinking about it. And I didn't do the book in a traditional sense where, many authors have all these timelines and they have these storyboards. I didn't have any of that. I just started writing. And it started out, I thought it would be a story about the house. And then 127 Fremont Place. And then I thought, okay, it'll be about my mother, who was a very larger than life character, someone who my husband Hank calls is a cross between Carol Channing and Phyllis Diller, who thinks she's Marilyn Monroe. So having her as a character, as I've said before, no writer gets this. It's amazing. You can't make her up. So I thought it'd be about her. And then it developed into my story. And I never had an idea that it would develop into that. And as I wrote it, I kept thinking, who cares? I'm not famous. I am not recovering from something. I couldn't understand why I was propelled to write it, but I was propelled to write it. And I loved writing it, but it was a very, very hard and long journey getting it done.
I'm sure it was very cathartic, just, or I hope it was.
Yes, very much. It's so interesting because people that have read the book, like you, who knew me and know me, they go, "Who is this? What happened? I never knew all this. I've known you for 30 years." But that's okay. I guess I wrote it instead of told it. And,
I love
that
that. And I do remember your mother, and I do remember I was in awe of her because she was glamorous, and as
very,
a result, she had something to say.
yeah.
She was a beautiful lady who had some opinions, and she was mom. I love it. I just love that.
Oh, thank you.
So, so many people have things happen in their life that they don't necessarily share all the time. But and when they do share little bits and pieces, people go, "Oh, you should really write a book." And so there's so many who's like, "Yeah, I should really write a book. Did people really want to know this?" So, what was it actually like sitting down and writing and publishing your first book? Like, what did you discover about yourself and your life as you wrote it?
Well, I discovered that I have tremendous discipline and I don't give up. I can't believe, but it got embarrassing, to be honest with you. People say, "Well, how's the book?" I'm like, "Oh gosh, okay, it's great." Because it took so long to write it. I started when my children were in college, and life got in the way. And I loved writing essays. It was the quick fix. I could publish them quickly, get a jolt, and feel good about myself and my writing. And the book was arduous. It was work, and more than an essay, and not as fun to write, although it was. And I found myself looking forward to writing every day, and I did. I'd start at 1:30 in the afternoon after lunch, and many times I would sit there and I wouldn't have anything, and I would force myself to just sit still until I got something. And usually it'd be like God knows when. And so I would uh, try to, get anything down that I could, and then the next day pick it up again. But it was it was a lot of work, but I miss it. I miss the work. I miss the project. Yet it was always not easy to write about the things that happened in my life. And uh, I also, again, thought, who is going to care? I
Well, the
mean,
honesty too. You did not, brush over anything. You were very honest with everything you wrote about. And it was just, I think that's why I loved it so much because you could get so much deeper than there wasn't just superficial. It was, we were in there with you sitting in the closet. I mean, that was just
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. To be honest, it took me a lot of drafts to go that deep. Bernadette, my mentor and phenomenal writing teacher, kept saying, "Go deeper, Heather, go deeper." I thought, I'm as deep as I can get. I mean, there's no deeper. And actually, I could, and I did. And as I wrote, sometimes it was like an out of body experience. I would almost become that character. I'd write about a character, and I think that's how perhaps maybe I got as deep as I did. Yet on the other hand, it just seemed very natural to just say it all,
Yeah.
or write it all, I should
It's so
say.
impressive, the process that you just explained, that you were, like you said, disciplined and sat down at a certain time. And even if you didn't produce, you made yourself sit there. And I'm really impressed with that. That's amazing to me. And so I would imagine, like Gretchen said, very cathartic, and probably very freeing. So, what would your suggestion be for people to continue to age enthusiastically? Having gone through this process, I'm sure you've got a different perspective than maybe before the process.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Never give up. Never ever give up, because don't say, "Well, I'm 64, I'm 64. I don't need that, or I've done that, or I've been there." Um, I had this getting my book published was very challenging. I was turned down by over 200 agents, publishers, everyone turned me down. Everyone. I
Wow.
had one, Regan Arthur at Little Brown was wonderful, and I sent her my book when it was published. She believed in it, but at that time she said, "I just don't think we can make any money out of it." So that was the end of that. I had a publisher, excuse me, an agent just before the pandemic who told me that I needed to make it louder and fiction. We needed, Virginia to, fall down drunk in the living room. She was one of the characters. And I tried it for one day. I thought, all right, okay, I'm up for it. So I wrote that down. I started writing and I thought I can't do it. So I put it down and that day I listened to Masterclass with, Judy Blume. And she, a famous writer of young people's books, young person's books. And I almost feel like she was speaking to me. She said, "Don't give up. If you're a writer out there, don't give up." And I thought, okay, I'm going to stick with it. And I actually went from trying to get my book published by major publishers. I went to independent presses, and I think it was probably the last one I submitted to Apprentice House, and they picked it up. And what I found that was so wonderful is that I listened to my intuition and Judy Blume, and I didn't give up. And this agent had told me that it was an old ladies book club book. And guess who picked this manuscript? It was a bunch of 21-year-olds.
Oh,
so I knew that was really exciting. And so I would say to stay forever young is to never give up. And it's not about, I remember, my mother never had any work done, work meaning, facelifts and eye jobs and she did nothing. And she'd always say, "Oh God, I really should be doing this, but I'm too old now." But it was her vitality. It was her energy. And it was her resilience. And for example, she'd always wanted a tattoo. And at 85, she got her first tattoo. It was a monarch butterfly on her ankle. And we all went to the tattoo parlor on Sunset Boulevard and had a big party while she got the butterfly put on. And it was incredible. And every time we'd go somewhere, my mother at 85 would say, "Well, here's my tattoo." And she'd show it to everybody. And
thank God it was on her ankle.
oh gosh. And then she'd say, people would say to her, "Well, you got it forever." And she said, "Are you kidding? I'm 85. How long am I going to last?" So, so I would say to age enthusiastically is not, to be so concerned about wanting to look young and not to say that, look, I color my hair. I do. I'm no, purist over here, but there's something that's really radiates from a gracefully aging man or woman. And that is just that you never give up. You're always interested, always curious, always trying to better yourself, learn more, educate yourself more, experience more, try something new.
I like that. And Heather, you are full of life. I mean, you really are. You just exude vitality, enthusiasm. I mean, everything. And I know your mom did too.
Oh
She
gosh.
was really fun.
Yes.
So we can find you on Instagram at Heather Haldeman. I think across the board it's at Heather
Yes.
Haldeman. Facebook. You are a blog, Heather Haldeman at blogs. Was it Blogspot?
Blogspot.com.
Blogspot.com, and then your website is heatherhaldeman.com. And then this book can be found on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble. But if you really want to support a local bookstore, it's also available at, I think it's Chevalier
Yes.
bookstore, which is very close to where you grew up in Hancock Park.
Right.
And so it's chevaliersbooks.com. And anytime anybody can support a small bookstore.
Definitely.
Good.
Definitely. And I so appreciate you having me today to talk about my book and aging enthusiastically.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so,
And
so happy to have you.
you're the best. And I hope I get to see you sometime soon. I'm in Pasadena 3 times a week, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And the best of luck to you both on your business here. It's wonderful.
And on this book, and then all the further the next ones that come. So we're looking
Thank
forward
you
to
so
them.
much.
Thanks, Heather. Bye-bye.
Bye.